Sometimes I'd have to bring you down to earth too. I know this verse hurts you. I tell you what, I give you advice. I'm feeling nice. Your vices could influence your writing if you weren't biting.
Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. We're going to talk about AEW Collision momentarily. But before we get into that, we got to discuss the Bryan Danielson situation now that we know more about his injury. That has brought more negativity towards AEW, as people are now saying that it ain't quite the land of caring that people thought it would be in terms of the talent's well-being. So, from what we learned so far, Bryan Danielson, of course, has a broken orbital bone and will be out for the rest of the year. Despite that, he is threatening to wrestle in January, Okada at Wrestle Kingdom. We'll talk about that in a moment. We'll also talk about Moxley supposedly also wrestling at Wrestle Kingdom, despite suffering a severe concussion. We'll talk about this in a moment too. So, I guess this is from Meltzer. It tells us that actually Danielson did not hurt himself in the tag team match. That was not when he fractured his orbital bone, but that he fractured his orbital bone versus Andrade on October 25th. So it says, quote, "The spot was about a minute before the finish when Andrade went for the spinning elbow and the two men's heads accidentally collided, with Andrade's head hitting Danielson in the eye area. Danielson actually had a black eye when he did the 10:25 match. There was an attempt to keep that quiet because it basically tells you that Danielson wrestled the match in Philadelphia going in with the broken orbital bone, and the decision was made to then do an angle of him getting hurt in the match. This has led to questions about the decision to do that. Doc Samson, who would make the call, came to AEW after years with the WWE, notably saving Jerry the King Lawler's life. They announced it was either from Cassidy or Okada, since Claudio is going after both of them for his revenge, and it sets up both for Danielson as well. It's not clear if Danielson will be ready for the Tokyo Dome show on January the 4th, where it is presumed he will be facing Okada in a rematch from Forbidden Door. So we already know that he did the video with an eye patch on, saying that he's coming after Okada. But a lot of people are now chilled down to their bones at understanding that Tony Khan allowed Bryan Danielson to wrestle an extensively long tag team match with a broken orbital bone. And people are now like, oh my God, this man does not care about wrestlers. Now, this is the kind of stuff Danielson wanted to do in WWE. He was like, hey, I got a severe concussion. Don't stop the match. What are you doing? Let me wrestle. Let me do my thing. And when you don't have strong leadership, this is the kind of stuff that they can do. Now, I did see the debate. I saw the debate of everybody saying, well, they let Cody wrestle at Hell in a Cell with a torn pec. And the people who was arguing on the other side, they were absolutely correct in saying so, is that the WWE doctors saw the torn pec from Cody and said, look, this thing can't get any worse. You know, he can't do any more damage to it, so he can go ahead and perform. When it comes to Danielson, not only could his orbital bone be worse, but he got headbutt in the head. If he got hit in the head hard enough to break his face, what do you think happened to his brain? This guy has a history of concussions. Are you meaning to tell me that this guy suffered a severe head and face injury, and your thought was to let him continue, to let him wrestle? I'm sorry, no. You can't do that. You can't do that. This guy had to be medically retired for several years because of concussions. Now you get him back. He had concussion issues since. And now you tell me that somebody broke his face, but it didn't affect his brain at all? I'm sorry, no. I don't buy that. I really feel terrible. Now, look, Bryan Danielson was a grown man. He could do whatever he wants. If he managed to play some kind of verbal jujitsu with Tony Khan to get them to let him wrestle the match, fine. But Tony Khan needs to be a stronger leader. He needs to be able to put his foot down. He needs to be able to say, this guy is hurt. This match is not important. It's not going to sell a pay-per-view. If anything, it's only going to sell matches for New Japan. Because he can't wrestle in AEW. Is he going to have the surgery, be healed up, and ready in January? Well, I don't know. But at this point, does it matter? Because we're letting Danielson do whatever he wants. So does it really matter if he's well enough in January to have the match? Is Tony Khan going to step in and say, you probably shouldn't have that match? Because it's going to screw with New Japan, who is, a very close partner to AEW. Should Tony Khan make the executive decision that that match should not occur because you want to spare Danielson for the rest of the year, which he will be working on your shows, which is something to consider. Not just every time he's wrestled Okada, he's gotten hurt, but let's say he is well enough to perform in January. Well, he's fresh off surgery. So who knows how much working out he's done? Who knows how and what kind of shape he's going to be in? And look, let's just be honest. If you can get punched in the face without breaking your face and getting a concussion, I'm pretty sure a headbutt to the face that did break your face probably gives you a concussion too. It's probably smart to just let Danielson rest. You don't, and I'm going to extend this to Moxley as well. Moxley has missed several TVs with a concussion. Apparently, he's going to start doing some physicality, as we saw him do physicality on Dynamite. But apparently now they're trying to get him to wrestle in January as well. And I would say, unless Moxley passes a physical before then and he's well enough to perform, I would pull him too. Look, you have to understand that these guys are very, very, very important to your roster. And who wants to beat a dead horse and talk about, oh, look at the ratings, look at the attendance. Just imagine you have, 4 or 5 months without Moxley or Danielson, how things could get worse in this position. Yes, it's possible for things to get worse. That being said, you definitely need to take better care of the guys that you have. Don't let them go out there and get injured. You got to be strong. Don't let them work hurt. We're not talking like, they're sore in an area. This guy let Danielson work with a broken arm. It's ridiculous. Why? What is he doing? He just has no spine and cannot stop Danielson from doing anything that he wants to do. And that's fine if Danielson wants to go around AEW and work other shows with injuries. But if he has to work in AEW, don't let him work hurt. And if you can stop him from working somewhere else injured, you should do that too. These guys are investments now. This is not 40 years ago when they were all, you independent contractor, we're going to do whatever we want. And then it's Hulk Hogan or it's, Andre the Giant or whatever, and you pretty much need them on these shows. AEW doesn't run house shows. So you don't need Danielson or Moxley to wrestle on every single show. Take the Gunther approach. He wrestles twice a month, maybe. That's all you need. You don't need Danielson working on Collision, then working Dynamite in these hard, fast-paced matches in which he takes tons of damage. It's not necessary. Get a guy a break, Give him a break now. Take the hit now so that you can have him later. Rather than, we're just going to postpone the hit. And then something worse comes along as we try to get him to wrestle with an injury. But this is all because of Tony Khan's, again, his weak leadership. And I know a lot of AEW fans are very hurt. They're very disgusted. They're upset. They're looking at Tony Khan and saying, why is he letting this happen? Why hasn't he stopped this? And it's been the same story again and again the entire time. It's because he's a weak leader. It's unfortunate, but it's true. Nobody can force Tony Khan to have a spine and tell him to stop doing the things that he's doing. And to stop letting guys run over him. Stop letting guys talk him into dangerous situations. Stop doing this stuff. You have to impress upon Tony Khan that these guys are an investment. If they get a concussion, no, they should not be wrestling somewhere else. I don't care if New Japan is a really good partner of yours and you promised them this. It was out of your control that this guy got a concussion or that this guy got a face injury. But now that he does, he can't work there too. This is a big problem with, hey, we're gonna trade talent anyway. We're gonna share talent. This is why, when WWE say, oh, they don't let their talent work anywhere else. And I've always said this. When it comes to guys like Randy Orton, and I had this conversation back in, I don't know, years ago, before I even had a YouTube channel, but I've had this conversation on the YouTube channel since. Why would you risk Randy Orton not being able to work your television because he wants to go work some Ring of Honor show or some TNA show or some other show? And if you're Randy Orton, why would you put the big paycheck in jeopardy so that you can get the smaller paycheck? It's really stupid. Like, I get it. It's not really the same in this situation because it's New Japan, and New Japan paychecks tend to be pretty big. And it's a big show. It's Wrestle Kingdom. And you want that cash. I get it. But if that was the case, then you need to start skipping some of these dynamites, some of these collisions and all this kind of stuff because you're trying to protect the Wrestle Kingdom paycheck. But that's why you can't share talent. You can't. If Wrestle Kingdom is going to be a huge payday for these guys, and it will be, then how does that compare to Collision? It doesn't. So why should I work Collision and then risk getting injured and can't make Wrestle Kingdom? But I'm signed to AEW, and I have to respect AEW, and I have to put AEW first. Well, then I have to put my pocketbook first, because long term, the money is good for AEW, and I want to be there, and that means I have to work Collision and Dynamite and all that kind of stuff. But if this one-time drop is going to be good, then maybe I ought to take a couple of weeks off and not work this match maybe not work this useless tag team match. Maybe not work against this guy. And I don't need to wrestle him, win or lose. I don't need it. It's a whole thing that involves the independent contractor situation that WWE just avoids by saying, we're going to keep you busy. You're going to be doing something. If you're not wrestling, you're probably going to be doing media. You ain't got time to work anywhere else. And since I'm paying you for exclusivity anyway, it's not going to happen. Wrestlers are an investment. They're not shovels, and even a shovel degrades and falls apart eventually. Even a tractor, tools fall apart. Human beings fall apart too. And you're in a highly physical business. It stands to reason that if a guy is working matches here and here, eventually he's going to fall apart. All right. Or if you're working them routinely, he's going to fall apart. You got to give people a break. And that might mean telling your partners, I can't make it work. Can we sub somebody in? Can we swap, Danielson out for somebody else? Because I need Danielson and he's hurt right now. So even if he is, I'm going to be well in time, I don't know. I don't want to trust it. You're going to be wrestling with essentially one eye. And, it's probably not the best thing for you anyway, because we don't know what your concussion situation is or how your brain is. Let's just take a break on that. Wrestle Kingdom is 6 weeks away. Can you have surgery and be well in 6 weeks? Sure. But do you want to risk it? I don't know. But that's just one of the things that is worth discussing when we're talking about sharing talent and weak leadership when it comes to Tony Khan. Before we get into Collision, we got one more piece of business to handle, and that is WrestleNomics did an estimate of the top 10 merchandise for AEW from January the 1st to November the 4th. They have a list of categories. Unlike in the WWE, they had apparel only. So they had like only shirts, jeans, and stuff. Because WWE sells belts and a bunch of other stuff too. What I'm thinking with AEW, I'm thinking it's mostly t-shirts. That's what I'm thinking. I can't guarantee. Again, I have no idea where WrestleNomics got this information from. It's just an estimate. So we're going to just use this for just a chat. It's not like this is going to be the definitive list of who's selling merchandise in AEW. I'm going to start with the bottom and work my way up. Number 10, Danhausen, with 60 items in the top 10 daily. Danhausen, who's been injured for a long time. Number 9, MJF, who's been world champion all year. And he only has 62 items in the top 10 daily. Interesting. Number 8, FTR, who has 98 items in the top 10 daily. I'm not surprised by this. I know FTR merchandise looks pretty popular from looking at the shows. Number 7, MJF and Adam Cole. So MJF with Adam Cole sells more than just MJF, which makes sense if you look at it in terms of TV ratings, where things plummeted a lot more when they were separated than they were when they were together. But MJF and Adam Cole has 204 items in the top 10 daily. Now things are going to get wonky because, I'm sorry, did I say 240 or 204? 204. Now things are going to get wonky because they sold more merchandise than, well, they had more items in the top 10 daily than other people who sold more merchandise. It's not going to make sense. I will try to make it make sense. Kenny Omega is number 6. He only had 95 items in the top 10 daily, but he sold more merchandise. Meaning there are fewer items available, but those items sell more. Okay? Number 5 is the Elite, who have 140 items in the top 10 daily, which means that Kenny Omega is on here twice. He's number 6 and 5 because the Elite is Kenny Omega. Orange Cassidy, 130 items in the top 10 daily. Number 3 is the Acclaimed with 201 items in the top 10 daily. And number 2, CM Punk with 236 items in the top 10 daily. This has left a lot of conversation where people are like, yeah, you're fired. You're one of your top merchandise movers. Your number 2 merch mover. You fired him. Yeah, they did. Tough times. He was also one of their number 1 ratings movers and attendance ticket movers too. Well, you got to do what you got to do, man. I don't know what more to say to that. And number 1, AEW. So the AEW t-shirts, AEW branded hats, etc. 282 items in the top 10 daily. AEW, its best brand is AEW. People buy AEW t-shirts and AEW hats and whatever more than they buy anything for any individual wrestler. This goes into what we used to say about people chanting for the company rather than a wrestler. It's not good that the company is more over than any individual talent. The goal is to get the talent to draw money. And look, I'm sure Tony Khan is glad that, he has a brand that can sell t-shirts and merchandise at a top level. And it tells a story that people are emotionally invested in the company, not in any individual star. And because of that, guys like CM Punk can be fired. So he doesn't matter, even though he sells more tickets and he sells more merchandise and he's a ratings draw. At the end of the day, it's all about the company, not about CM Punk. So with that being said, AEW is AEW's top merchandise mover. And look, there is a positive to that in so much as the company is over with the fan base. The fan base really like the brand. They're, again, emotionally attached to the brand itself. The negatives is none of the wrestlers matter. That's the unfortunate thing. And look what's not here. Like, there's no Blackpool Combat Club. You've had those guys running around for a year with Danielson and Moxley. Moxley should be one of your top guys. He's not on here. Danhausen sells more merchandise than Jon Moxley. Again, this is all just an estimation. We don't know for sure. But I'm looking at this list. I don't see Moxley anywhere on here. I think he won the world title like twice last year or something like that. And main event at a pay-per-view. Orange Cassidy, one of the saving graces of Orange Cassidy has always been the AEW fan base saying that he sells a ton of merchandise. So that's been proven. And I'm just kind of surprised that we don't see like the Blackpool Combat Club on here. At least the Elite are on here. Well, Kenny Omega. I guess you could say they do okay. They aren't a television draw, but their fan base still buys the merchandise, and I guess there's enough of them to keep them in the top 10, so that's good. And can't really complain too much about that. But no Jericho. Okay. And Edge hasn't been around long enough to sell merchandise, and I don't understand why we would count heels anyway. So I'm not surprised there's not a lot of merchandise sold for MJF. He was a heel for most of the year. So it is what it is on that tip. Bullet Club Gold, same thing. Even though, have they been around long? They've been around long enough, I would say. But, to have Danhausen selling more merchandise than all of these guys is hilarious to me. But it ain't much more hilarious than this terrible X Collision. I'm telling you guys, this November 4th episode of Collision is one of the worst shows probably ever. I mean, I'm just stupefied at how dumb this damn show is. But we gonna get through it. We gonna get through it. That's why I made sure to have copious news and notes to make this thing worth listening to. Because this episode of Collision was terrible. Match 1. AR Fox loses to Swerve. So they finally get around to finishing this story, tying this bow. Swerve doesn't wrestle Keith Lee, but he wrestles AR Fox again. He wins with the double foot stomp. After the match, we end up with a brawl featuring the Gates of Agony, FTR, Big Bill and Stacks, and the La Facción Ingobernables, and with House of Black just watching. We don't know who they're watching at the time or what they're watching, but they're watching. AR Fox and Swerve actually started their match during the promo segment where AR Fox attacked Swerve. It was a typical AR Fox match. He just does a bunch of flips, and Swerve is getting much better in terms of character stuff, and they even now announced that he's going to be wrestling Hangman at Full Gear, so him and Hangman are going to run it back at this next pay-per-view. Okay. Not against that, but not exactly for it. Don't really care about it, if we're being honest. We need more. We deserve better from this whole ordeal. But whatever. All right, so this leads to later in the show, match 7, the main event of the evening. Big Bill, Ricky Starks, and Gates of Agony versus FTR and La Facción Ingobernables, which is Rush and Preston Vance. This match was so long. I don't know. I think they gave this match like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, or something like that. Completely unnecessary. A hell of a lot of time. Bishop, I think Khan is the one who took the pin in this match. So, of course, Gates of Agony, who just beat the Young Bucks, they turn around and lose immediately. Thanks for coming, guys. Big Bill and Ricky Starks, they also lose. I don't know what's going on anymore, bro. The story of this whole thing is that earlier in the night, when La Facción Ingobernables helped FTR wanted to shake their hand, and Roosh just pat Dax on the shoulder. He's like, "Hey, what's going on? Why can't you shake my hand like a man?" And later on, after they won the main event, Dax once again tried to shake Roosh's hand, and Roosh refused to shake his hand because Roosh don't shake hands. He should have fist bumped him. That seemed to be Roosh's deal. He liked fist bumps. Maybe elbow bumps would have been better. If you try, why are you trying to get this man's attention? You want this man's respect, but La Facción Ingobernables is all about disrespect, which is why it's weird that they're baby faces. But then again, who's a baby face and who's a heel on this show anyway? After the match, there's a big brouhaha, and it starts with the House of Black popping up on the screen saying that FTR are the only they are the only ones who care about FTR, and that their legacy is worth more than gold. And if they don't believe that, they'll beat it into them. I was like, ooh, spooky dookie. And then they attacked them from behind. This led to, of course, the big brawl in which the Blackpool Combat Club, this being Claudio and Yuta, made the save with chairs. And I thought Claudio was a heel, because didn't he try to kill Orange Cassidy the other day? I thought these guys were heels. Why? I don't know what's going on anymore, bro. I'm legit looking at this and like, I can't figure it out. Their baby faces one week, heels the next. People are changing for no reason, turning for no reason. I don't know. I do not know. Anyway, the show goes off the air with Claudio and Yuta yelling at the House of Black. Okay, House of Black, Blackpool Combat Club. Have we done that yet? I'm not sure if we've done that yet. But I don't know what's going on. Like, House of Black, they just want to fight them. I hope they get what they want in terms of entertainment value. But why did this have to involve Big Bill and Ricky Starks? Couldn't they have been doing something else? Why does this involve Gates of Agony? I don't know. This is weird. This is all very weird. Let's just move on. Daniel Garcia will be getting a World Heavyweight Championship match because he challenged MJF on Rampage. I'm surprised MJF even heard it because it happened on Rampage. MJF accepted the challenge, saying that this company was built by young revolutionaries looking to change the business. And Daniel Garcia is one of those guys and says that, but is he going to get a pro wrestler or a sports entertainer? Which to me seemed like a goofy question because Daniel Garcia, his gimmick now is he dances. So he's kind of like firmly in the sports entertainment category. Secondly, this was a question when he was torn dealing with Chris Jericho. Considering he's not dealing with that situation anymore, it shouldn't matter whether he's going to be a pro wrestler or a sports entertainer. It kind of doesn't matter at this point because he's by himself. There's nobody pulling his strings anymore. So what difference does it make if he's a pro wrestler or a sports entertainer or whatever that distinction may be? It seems kind of goofy. But Daniel Garcia, I'm not a fan, but it seems that they're trying to reverse the course of guys being too old on the roster. So they go with two young guys again. Instead of making Daniel Garcia look important, however, they just threw him in there, which is, they tried to fix the Meltzer problem and ignored the Mongo problem. The Mongo problem is it doesn't matter who you put in there because the storylines suck. The Meltzer problem is everybody's too old. Okay, so you solved the Meltzer problem by putting two young guys in your main event. But two young guys with no story. How is that going to draw audiences? I don't know. Whatever. Later, MJF mocked Jay White for pinning him. Said that Jay White is a pretender while he is a real star. And for him to check Google Trends for his name and Jay White's name. And his is a pyramid while Jay White's is a straight line. And that led to a lot of people actually doing it. And showing that Jay White has no buzz whatsoever on Google Trends, and that nobody cares about this guy. Nobody knows who he is. Guess what? This guy's main event in a pay-per-view. So, Tony Khan, maybe you should suggest people don't draw attention to that. You're trying to... Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Anyway, Juice Robinson and the Gun Boys are singing about how Jay White pinned MJF. It seems like they're trying to make it a crowd chant, or at least something that's going to be very annoying to MJF, which is fun. Of course, Jay White says that they are the true elite, and they're going to win the world championship. I've seen a lot of people give Jay White trouble with his promos, and I do believe that he has smooth talking, but his content lacks. He needs some punch. He needs some punchier, colorful language. Like, he's very natural in terms of talking, the act of talking. He doesn't stumble, he doesn't fold or whatever. He just seems to just not say much. Okay? He needs somebody to coach him on how to be more colorful in his language, add a punchline or two or some colorful language, and his promos will be so much better. Okay, next we hit the Rock. We hit the first Rock because I see Kip Sabian on my television, and I'm like, what is this? And he's on TV talking about a toothless tosspot beating him up. I'm like, who the? And it's Mark Briscoe. I'm like, oh, I forgot he was still there. So then I'm told that Kip Sabian is going to team up with the Workhorsemen, call themselves the Sex Stallions, and want to fight Mark Briscoe and two other people. And I'm thinking to myself, all right, it's going to be on Rampage. I don't have to watch it. Nope. They doing it tonight. I was like, oh, no, 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 no. I am not watching Kip Sabian. Brother. Mark Briscoe, he's backstage. He says that he was looking for some partners. FTR walked up and actually offered to be his partners, but he already had people lined up. So he thanked them, and they went on their way, and he had his match. And his match was Kip Sabian and the Workhorsemen versus Mark Briscoe, Dustin Rhodes, and Keith Lee. I didn't watch this. I'm going to keep it real with you guys. I know who won. Didn't watch it. After the match, Mark Briscoe said he was feeling good. He smells gold. And he's been watching Jay White. He wants to fight him and wants Jay White to put his title shot on the line. So Mark Briscoe will fight Jay White this week on Dynamite. I don't hate that. I don't hate it. It seems kind of silly that Jay White would put his title shot on the line, but I don't hate it. All right, whatever. Why put Mark Briscoe in this situation, though? Like, he's in a situation where he's going to lose. Why do that? You don't have to. You don't have to put Mark Briscoe in a match where he's going to lose. Like, he's still got that goodwill from his brother's passing. You could use that to do something else instead of trying to transfer it to with Jay White in terms of heat. But okay, whatever. I don't hate that. Later, Samoa Joe talks about being the longest reigning television champ in Ring of Honor history, and that MJF will realize eventually that he needs somebody to watch his back, and that someone is Samoa Joe. Then he says that as the Ring of Honor television champion, he's defeated everybody. And then he is confronted by Keith Lee. And Keith Lee says, with all due respect, Mr. Joe, you have not defeated everyone. And so Samoa Joe was like, okay, let's do it. They decided they're going to fight. Big body, small head. Let's go. Big meaty men slapping meat. This is what the business is all about. Let's go. Joe, Lee, Dynamite, I'm there. That rules. I like that. Now, again, this is a situation in which Tony Khan could have tried to make some money off this. Full Gear is upcoming. Couple of weeks of build. Keith Lee, Samoa Joe, and a solid, hard-hitting mid-card match on a pay-per-view. You would have had me. I'd have been like, hell yeah. Keith Lee ain't what he used to be. Samoa Joe ain't what he used to be. But they're still two big dudes who have believability, and the match could go either way. Because I can conceivably believe that Keith Lee can win this match. Why not do that at the pay-per-view? Instead, we're doing it on television. Okay, I'm not going to complain as long as I get to see it. So Samoa Joe, Keith Lee, I'm in. This is the best booking decision that Tony Khan has made in a while. Good matchmaking, bad writing. Terrible writing because you're giving away a colossal match on television, a couple weeks before your pay-per-view, but I don't have to buy your pay-per-view, so thanks. You did me a huge favor. The second match on the show was the Kingdom versus a bunch of jobbers. This led to Roderick Strong, Dasha. Then he says that the people don't take neck health seriously and don't take the Kingdom seriously. And he's going to show them this week why you should take both your neck health and the Kingdom seriously. And they go in there and beat up the Jobberinos, pin them really quickly. And then Roderick Strong gets out of his wheelchair, takes a couple of swipes at the jobbers, and then has to be helped back to his wheelchair by Matt Taven. Okay, I would prefer if the Kingdom were the Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions right now. And we're going to talk about this Ring of Honor thing too, because there was something that happened on this show. Matter of fact, let's talk about it right here. So they were running down all the various places they're going to be lately, in the future. Various Dynamites and Rampages where the shows are going to be. And then it's like the ticker at the bottom. And then Ring of Honor Full Battle pops up at the bottom of the screen. And nobody mentioned it. Nobody said anything. They just stopped talking and started talking about something else. And I said, You cannot tell me Tony Khan bought this Ring of Honor thing with any intention of doing anything. They can't even mention Ring of Honor on television. Why are they not? And then it really struck me like a bolt of lightning. Like, outside of whoever is a champion, like MJF or Samoa Joe, they don't mention Ring of Honor on these shows at all. They don't promote the show. I don't even know what day the show goes live. I don't know anything about Ring of Honor. You know, I just know if I go to a Pirating site, it's a new episode up. I don't know what day it is, because I usually go to the Pirating sites, you know, for Impact, because I don't catch Impact live. Usually I'm on a live stream. And I'll see like a new episode of Ring of Honor is up. And I'm just like, my goodness, nobody talks about anything that happens on this show. They don't promote it. It's like, why would you want to wrestle on that show? Even when NXT was behind a paywall, WWE talked about NXT. They talked about things that happened on it at the very least, especially when they called people up. On AEW, unless you are a regular on Dynamite and Collision, they don't even talk about what's going on Ring of Honor. And heavens to Betsy, has MJF ever been on Ring of Honor? He's like a champion there, and he hasn't. Has he ever appeared on that show? Who has Samoa Joe wrestled on that show? We don't know anything about that program. But I just noticed that they were running through all the towns that they're going to be in, and then it was like Ring of Honor Final Battle, and everything got quiet. It's just like, you see it. Like, damn, we can't even mention it. It's one thing for, you don't want to air the show, but now you telling me I can't even mention it? That's crazy, bruh. All right, moving on. Lance Archer is defeated by Darby Allin. This match is the same as every Lance Archer Darby Allin match, in which Darby Allin takes 100 punishing spots only to win the match anyway, which is typical. This is like the 5th time they've done this. And it's the same way every time. Lance Archer looks like a beast. He throws Darby Allin to and fro. Then Darby Allin either hits a big move or does something from the top rope and he wins. And this time it was like a sunset flip or a code red off the top rope in order to win the match. Jake the Snake Roberts is back. Everybody is very excited about that. Jake Roberts sounds like he does, Johnny Cash songs. I'm talking about his voice got like a hella rasp to it. He sounds salty than a son of a bitch. He sounds like an old cowboy. Like something out of one of those Gunsmoke or something like that. But he says that he didn't come to this fight with one piece of artillery and that he's got other weapons. I'm like, oh, okay, what is he doing? And it's the Righteous, Vincent and Dutch. The guys who lost 2-on-1 to MJF. Brother, those guys were dead. I don't know if Tony Khan understands how this thing works, but you need to repackage those guys because those guys are dead. When you lose 2-on-1 to like a midget, you're dead. All right, it's over for you. Nobody takes you seriously anymore. But apparently, here they are, and they're going to be partnered up with Jake Roberts and Lance Archer. Lance Archer attacked Darby Allin after the match, hit him with, what was this move? The blackout, they called it? Okay. All right. Look, on paper, I don't hate the idea of Vincent, Dutch, and Lance Archer as partners with Jake the Snake Roberts. But to me, the issue is it's another faction in AEW, and there's too many factions in AEW. Also, this faction has no legitimacy. Lance Archer just lost to a midget. These two guys lost 2-on-1 to a midget. Where's the threat? Like these are all supposed to be big, monstrous, creepy, swamp-dwelling guys. Where's the threat? All these guys are losers. Why would Jake the Snake Roberts want to be around losers? I don't know. Seemed like a prime situation where Lance Archer probably should have got disqualified because he wouldn't stop kicking Darby Allin in his ass, but they decided not to go that route. Interesting. Next, Chris Statlander, Willow Nightingale, and Sky Blue had a backstage promo. Chris Statlander thanked Sky Blue for picking the right side. Sky Blue then responded that she always got Willow's back and she didn't do this for Chris Statlander. Now, there was something very humorous that occurred on Rampage because I saw the tweet. I was I was alerted that apparently Sky Blue wrestled Marina Shafir on Rampage. She then started stomping Marina Shafir's feet because Marina Shafir wrestles barefoot. And Marina Shafir was no-selling the foot stomps. And she then, I guess she spin kicked Sky Blue in the chest. And all of this was terrible. All of it was so bad. And this led to so many AEW, well, I'm not going to say that because they wouldn't say this. So let me scratch that, disregard. It was a lot of people who are fans of Sky Blue's thickness saying she needs to go to NXT. She's got to get out of AEW. They keep doing this stupid stuff with her. And I kind of cringed because they're trying to look at NXT like it's a lifeboat. Whenever somebody has a career, they've hit the wall. Just send them to NXT. Like, I don't know, man. Let's slow down a bit. There's quite a few Sky Blues in NXT already who are pretty girls, no personality. Sky Blue, I don't know. We need something to work with here. She has no personality whatsoever. That's what made this scene so funny. Is it wasn't just Marina Shafir this time. Like, usually Marina Shafir is so bad and she's so noticeably bad that you laugh at her and you just can't stop laughing. But this time it was also Sky Blue stomping on her foot that was incredibly terrible too. And then Sky Blue's selling of the kick was also bad. Like, this was some of the worst stuff. This stuff was terrible, bro. And I was sitting here like, I don't know. Sky Blue cannot talk. She's so pretty, but my goodness, I don't know if Sean can save it. Like, what can he do? You gotta bring him some parts at least. Like, she's got a booty, but what else? I mean, she ain't got nothing else. Who needs to be in NXT though? Because it probably would really help their career. Willow Nightingale. Just her energy. Like, I watched her entrance. I had no interest in watching her match with Emi Sakura, who is Mrs. Potato Head. I had no interest in watching that. But watching Willow's entrance, when she leads the claps and she does her little shimmy and, she plays along to the theme song and she's always smiling and upbeat. Like, it reminded me a lot of Bayley, when Bayley was a babyface in NXT. She seemed like she's a perfect babyface. She can't win too much because then you get bored of her. And she'd be, like Bayley when she was in NXT or when she was on the main roster. She has to lose enough to maintain, so people won't get angry and won't get jealous and, all that kind of stuff. That's the thing about babyfaces. They have to lose enough where people won't turn on them. But they have to win enough to stay over. And Willow is flawless as a babyface. She has made no mistakes. She's very good. The issue has been her booking. The issue has been she needs to stay in front of the people. She makes people feel good. And times where people are not feeling as strong about the women's division, somebody like Willow Nightingale can change that. What it seems to me is that Tony Khan waits for one of his partners to push somebody and then he pushes them. Like, he didn't actually push Willow until New Japan did. Like, when New Japan made her the strong champion, which I know was a complete and total accident because Sasha Banks got hurt, then he pushed her because, oh my goodness, she's finally gotten over. But he's got her on the roster and she's on TV every week. She should be there and be a top babyface. And she shouldn't be a jobber to the stars either. She should be a top contender. She makes people feel better about what's going on with your women's division. And as long as that's a mode of attack, that you're never going to get over that. But if you make people feel like Willow is next in line, or Willow has got something, as long as we got Willow, we're okay. That could work for you. But he won't do that. So I don't know what to tell you. He'd rather have her wrestle this potato, this human cookie dough mess over here. Anyway, I forgot to mention about Swerve and Alex Abrahantes because it was so unimportant. For some reason, Penta cares a lot about Swerve disrespecting Hangman's family and wants to fight him. Okay, I guess. So they're going to have a match on Wednesday. I don't dislike it, but Penta shouldn't be a job guy. I'm sorry. He's just him doing random jobs to like swerve and stuff is kind of stupid to me. Now, the worst part of the show, as far as I'm concerned, it's felt like 40 minutes. The Acclaimed 69-day celebration, and then the match with Dalton Castle and the boys. I was floored at how much time they gave the Acclaimed to do this. And look, we just talked about how much merchandise they sell, so okay, you got to give the guys an opportunity to sell some more stuff. But if we were going to have this be interrupted, it should have been cut short earlier. And if there was going to be an impromptu match, it definitely should have happened earlier. And it should also be, if you're going to turn Dalton Castle heel, okay, but at least bring a story out of it instead of blowing off the heat immediately. So what ended up happening? Let's talk about it. So the Acclaimed, they come out there. They're celebrating 69 days as champions. I don't know the significance of 69 days. And I kept saying to myself, like, what is the significance? Are they going to explain why 69 days is what we're celebrating? You know, like, it's not 100. You know, it's not, like, why? Why do we have balloons and streamers for 69 days? I don't know. Anthony Bowens got a surprise from Max Caster. And the surprise was a shout out from MJF in which he says that he's earned MJF's respect and that he's starting to grow on him like a fungus. He's starting to actually like the Acclaimed. Max thanked them and says they wouldn't be anything without the fans. They kind of played around for a little bit before, and they were about to wrap it up. This seemed like it was going on for 10 minutes already, 10 to 20 minutes. It probably wasn't that long, but it felt long as hell. Then they got interrupted by Dalton Castle, who came out with the boys. Now, I was like, okay, I don't know what's happening here. You know, like, Dalton Castle is a babyface at this point. He doesn't say anything, but he commands the boys. The boys run off and they steal the trophy because the Acclaimed had a 69 trophy for their 69 days as champions. They retrieved the trophy and they give it to Dalton Castle. So Dalton Castle moves towards the ropes with it. He gingerly holds it up above his head as if he's going to do it, but not really going to do it. And then, you know, the Acclaimed are yelling at him, hey, don't do it. What are you doing? And then he throws it outside the ring. So then the fight happens. And this leads to an impromptu match. And when Dalton Castle and the boys versus the Acclaimed for the trios titles. And this match turned into some of the worst. There was a piñata in the ring. I don't know what that was about. Bro, I'm just like, what on earth is going on here? Like, really, what's happening? They ripped the piñata open and stuff's falling out. I think it was like a hat. You know, Nigel McGuinness like, it's a condom. I'm like, a condom? And they're like, it's not a condom, it's a lapel pin. I'm like, what? How did you get a condom out of a lapel pin? What's going on here? And they're still in the ring having the match. They're still having match in this ring. And then eventually one of the boys gets pinned with the Fame Master. This is awful, bro. And this lasted entirely too long. Jesus. This makes me not want to watch Collision anymore. This stuff, the Acclaimed with Dalton Castle and the boys, this Kip Sabian thing, this Willow Nightingale, Emi Sakura thing, that long-ass main event, this makes me not want to watch Collision. All right? It makes me just not want to see this show at all, period. You know, I'm hoping it doesn't get this bad ever again. Because, you know, I got to give them a wide berth. You know, wrestling shows are going to vary. But this is horrible. All right? This is terrible. And none of this shit makes any fucking sense. Why does he come out there and tear up? He's not a heel. He's a babyface. Why would he come out there and tear up their thing for no reason? You know, just no reason. Just comes out there and breaks it. It's like, wait, why? It'd have been like, maybe he should have challenged them for a match right now, you know, friendly. And then they would have said, you know, hey, we're celebrating. We can't do it right now. And then he says, oh, you say no? You know, maybe I can entice you. And he tears up their thing. But he came out there, didn't say a word, and they just came out there and broke some shit and got into a match and lost. This is stupid, bro. This is a really dumb show. A really dumb show. The only other piece of business on this show was Andrade El Idolo, look at me, saying that, reiterating what he said last week, that this is his business and nobody else's. He doesn't want to be a part of La Facción Ingobernables, and he also does not want CJ Perry as a manager, but he's going to give her his answer face to face on Wednesday. And it seems like he's going to tell her no, and then Miro's going to beat him up anyway, or Miro's going to beat him up before he says no, and under the belief that he's going to say yes. But you got to have the Miro Andrade match. And that's interesting to me, because now they're actually, I'm not thrilled with the story that they're putting on it, but it's better than no story. It's better than nothing, for Christ's sake. So there's Collision. Oh boy, who'd have ever thought CM Punk leaving would turn this show into this? This show has become damn near dark. Like, when you got Kip Sabian and Emi Sakura on the show, it's Dark Elevation, dog. This is Dark Elevation tier stuff right here, man. I don't know what they're doing. Why is Chris Statlander not in a storyline for her title? Nobody, I guess she's in a storyline now because maybe Sky Blue is going to be a contender. But if she's going to be like a heel, why is she friends with Willow and not Chris Statlander? Who knows? I don't know. I guess that'll all fall into place. But I'm greatly disappointed in this episode of Dynamite. It's one of the worst ever. Let me know what you guys think. If you got this far, like, share, subscribe. Thank you, and I'll talk to you guys later.